Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're hearing this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Welcome in, friends. Thank you, by the way, for enjoying our bye week as we did the thing there. I mean, I know Travis was on assignment doing all the right things that you're supposed to do on a bye week. Let me be clear. But with all that being said, appreciate all the conversation we had in the comments otherwise. And, you know, listen, if you aren't liking and subscribing yet to find those things, make sure you do that here on the Duval Dive in all the places, YouTube channel, podcasts and whatnot. Welcome in. Already getting things in the comments. Good to see you out there. Tapa, Robert Lamison, good to see you guys in there. Let me go to this. Okay. And I know I'm a little off script here, as happens at the beginning of the show, because what happens, for those that don't know, before the Duval Dive, Travis and I do a rundown. You know, we check in on the family. I talk about something that I did that was really silly. Travis laughs at me, whatever. But then while we're talking, we go over what we're going to talk about, and inevitably I hit the button and think of something else. Now, this is different. I intentionally withheld this one because I really want to know the opinion of you, my champion, Travis D. Hobbs, Big Cat Country, okay, and you Duval divers out there. And I know that the rumors surrounding BTJ getting traded were out there. And thank you for laughing at it. Thank you, Travis. That is the correct. There you go. You needed a bell for that. Anyway, so with all that in mind, and I thought, how ludicrous is this? The only thing that might have been dumber was when the Steelers were allegedly at one point sniffing around for Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
But then I got to thinking, this is a good thing. The reason why this is a good thing, Travis, is there was an element out there that thought this had legs. And I thought to myself, who on earth, Travis D. Holmes, would be that dumb to think a guy in the middle of the season would trade away a dude that's at the top of the depth chart? Oh, wait. Jimmy Stone's already did that this year. Holy snap. So what I'm saying is this, Travis. The fact that Brian Thomas Jr. trade rumors were air quotes believed by some people is a positive because it shows proof positive that this new GM truly is a new culture compared to the past. Do I have something there? Does that make sense?
I mean, it makes total sense to me. And it's also, it lets you know that, all right, man, these folks, they think this dude's a wild boy. We don't know what to expect, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, but at the same time, it has some legs because you've seen him do it with so many guys who just aren't his guys. And folks are still a little bit cautious. They're a little bit off balance as far as what his goal is or what his type of player is within all of this, like what his true vision is and the things that he will do. And maybe he'll have that right offer that comes along and knocks his socks off. So I can understand why people might think it, even though it's obviously not the way that they're going to do business with their best offensive player, who they called their engine when being hired not too long ago. That'd be pretty wild.
No, I don't think. Yeah, certainly if BTJ happened, it would definitely be considered wild compared to Tyson Campbell. Tyson Campbell having a bit of a history, if you will, of up and down play as it was injury, blah, 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 blah.
But yeah, it's also an offensive player and an offensive coach being hired, right? That makes it different too. That's all I'm getting at, man. That made it a little bit different too. Like, again, if you're talking about your primary guy being let go, not too long, not a half of a season after you've been hired, that'd be pretty wild. Like, you better be right. Like, you better be totally right. Because if you're wrong on that guy and he shows up, I don't know, half a year later, balling out of control, ooh, boy, that's going to be rough to come back from.
And, Robert coming in, reminding us why he can't have nice things. So if Trevor blows this game, is Gladstone calling the Rams for Jimmy Garoppolo? No, Robert. No, he's not. Anyways, let's go ahead and get right into it. I appreciate having the moment there to get that off my chest. But I'm going to go right to the keys of the game, Travis. Listen, this Raiders game is being expressed by many as the opportunity for a bounce back, but not just an opportunity in my mind. It's something that if this is a miss, it could completely change the direction of the season. And I know you initially hit it at it a couple weeks ago, I think. But now I'm hearing it get adopted everywhere. It wouldn't be the first time. You were the first one to have an intelligent thought that everybody caught up to, but I digress. And of course, starting with that, I think I'm not going to cheapen it to say that this is true in every football game, but I believe in this game, it's even more crucial getting those free yards when you get that opportunity, Travis. And please indulge us where exactly you're taking that in particular to this weekend.
Well, see, in this weekend's game, it's a little bit different. There are free yards built into every offense. Now, whether you're talking about the short yardage throws, the slants, and just picking up that extra yak, that's a big thing within this offense that we also haven't seen. And I don't even mean in that way. Like, I'm truly meaning the easiest throws you can have. Like, the Coach Cohen this week, he talked about the screen game and the fact that the staff, they evaluated their lack of success in the screen game over this bye week, because it's such a crucial staple within the offense. Like, whether it's the Vikings, whether it's the Rams, whether it's the 2024 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, those wide receiver screens and running back screens are huge things in this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. And the Jaguars are third in the league at running them. But then somehow, shout out Dan Griffiths, Action Sports Jacks, like the Jaguars are 32nd in completion percentage on those same screens. And they're also 32nd in the league in completion percentage on play action screens, which is play action plays, which are the plays that you generally have the most amount of time. You normally have extra blockers in to find the guys who are open. Those are plays that you specifically scheme to have time to maybe take your shot plays and at least to be able to check the ball down. And if you're 32nd there and you're 30 seconds on screens, Lord, I mean, we spoke about Trevor.
I don't think that's just a Trevor shot either. I'm going to hand it back to you. I want to get this in. That's not just a Trevor shot. A lot of those are going to be where the drop pass thing comes in. I know a lot. The people were angry at us for giving Trevor a pass from Monday's episode, Trevor Trouble, and the other, or Trouble, however I worded it. But yeah. And then the other half were angry at us for being too mean on him, and it's all the receiver's fault. Guys, two things can be true. Can we be clear about that, please? Thank you. So
that's it. And if you want to get into the specifics of that, like you just mentioned, we talked about Trevor's inconsistency, we'll call it, at bare minimum, in attacking in the short yardage and attacking behind the line of scrimmage, like hitting these guys on the chest, leading them upfield, things of that nature. But we also should mention that that's not specifically a Trevor Lawrence stat. Like, again, Dan mentioned the fact that they had 9 batted balls, drops, or throwaways in that bucket of plays for the screen passes.
The offense. Oh my God.
Right. So that's everybody. That's to your point. That's all 3 levels of the offense. Like, that's those free yak yards that's built in, but that's also the offensive line not getting guys' hands down. Yeah. Like, that's their job to make sure these screens can be completed. That's the wide receivers not getting blown up at the line of scrimmage and running into the receiver that's behind them trying to catch those wide receiver screens, or the offensive linemen also getting these guys on the ground or getting them away from them so that they can then catch those running back screens. It's everyone. They got to get those issues cleaned up offensively, but that's not specifically a Trevor Lawrence stat, even though it does absolutely involve Trevor Lawrence in that equation.
The offensive line wasn't 0 for the first 8 in passes that traveled in the air over 20 yards. Just saying.
You got it, bro. So, like, that's what I mean when I say pick up the free yards, because this is, again, if you're missing the staple in the offense, how much harder does this whole thing get? Like, we raved about the fact that Liam Cohen was going to give Trevor Lawrence layups when he was hired because of that screen game, that robust screen game that those guys have. So now we just haven't seen it, be effective. And again, they're top 3 in the league in the amount of times they run it. They got to get it right. So fortunately, they came off of a bye week, and again, Liam stared into the barrel of the gun and said, "Hey, we talked about this bye week. We worked on ways to try to fix our problems with what the issues were in cleaning up that part of the operation. All right, cool. Well, let's see it in this week against the Raiders."
Yeah, and well, you mentioned the key elements, so to speak, as it were. You mentioned also wide receivers and quarterbacks in sync.
Yeah.
And I think the drops, there's an element of that too. I think we pointed out a little bit with scheme changes for BTJ in the BTJ episode. What was that, last Saturday? And then also another element of being in sync. Travis, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I have to point this out too. Already there's issues with being in sync. If you look quickly at this injury report, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read 3 of the names. Brian Thomas Jr. shoulder limited at practice. De'Ami Brown shoulder full participant at practice though. And then Travis Hunter, knee, limited participation in practice. And just if you needed a bonus one, Tim Patrick with a groin injury, limited in practice. Travis, that's not what you want to see when chemistry is what you're trying to build.
That's correct. Like, and while De'Ami Brown was listed as a full participant in practice, he also on Wednesday had the non-contact jersey on. So I was a little confused. I actually thought he was limited. But nevertheless, like showing the fact that you have all of your receivers other than Parker Washington listed on your injury report is not really what you want to see. Like for the obvious reasons, we had concern when the Jaguars offensive line were all listed on the injury report a few weeks back, and they played like they were hobbled. So. We're in the same boat with the wide receiver group going into this game coming off of a bye week. It's obviously not what you want to see, in addition to having Eric Murray, who left the week 7 game with the neck injury, did not participate on Wednesday and Thursday. So yeah, there you go. Son Stain says it correctly. Eric Murray has had this neck problem for a while. It's been a few weeks where it was at least on the injury report, but it didn't keep him out of games. He left the week 7 game, and now he's for the first 2 days of this week. I guess you probably at least have to consider him questionable. If he's unable to go, then you get looking at Antonio Johnson getting extended snaps, like similar to that week 7 game when he left the game early. Antonio Johnson ended up picking up those additional snaps. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you want to see that. You want to see him play well on that back end, because you already got questions on the other safety position with Dewey Wingard. And that's just a whole nother thing. Like, if you already got one question on one safety, you don't want to have a question on the other one, because then it's bombs away, bro.
Robbie, I just want to say, he's in the comments, do they physically berate all of their receivers, wondering why they're all on the injury report? Sir, this isn't the Urban Meyer regime. We don't kick the kickers, okay? That's not what we have.
But yeah, so having all those guys being at least not 100% is obviously going to be a very big storyline, at least going into the game. Even if you are playing a Raiders team that has been pretty rough on the field, at least as far as their defense is concerned, like a lot of stop gaps, the guys who they brought in this season, a lot of bargain bin guys that they brought in this offseason as far as their secondary makeup is concerned. So like, you hope that the Jaguars could have an effective passing week. But I also did see this interesting stat from Next Gen Stats. Discussing Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has completed only 125 of his 205 passes for 1,253 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions against zone coverage this season. That's a 59.8 completion percentage against zone, which is the lowest in the NFL. And his passer rating 73.7 is 5th lowest. Meanwhile, the Raiders have deployed zone coverage on 84% of their opponent dropbacks this season, which is the 3rd highest in the NFL.
If I'm doing my math right, Cincinnati's going to be one of those, and the Niners? I don't think so. No, wait, that was called back. That was an interception. Who were the teams he saw previously with the zone?
Honestly, I didn't look it up. I didn't look it up because it just wasn't top of mind. It didn't make a difference in my head.
Yeah, I mean, because the games he threw picks in were Carolina, Cincy, and I'm forgetting the other one now. But
I mean, even KC played a lot of zone when they played against him, and it was a little too high also.
Yeah.
But he ended up being very good at running the ball that week. So that's interesting. He still didn't have an effective passing operation in that way, but he made it happen with his legs. So I'm cool with it. But overall, my biggest takeaway from that image wasn't even about Trevor Lawrence. While Trevor Lawrence struggles against zone, when I say the operation for the receivers and the quarterback have to get them to the same page, that's really what I mean. Because most of those interceptions that he's had with Brian Thomas Jr. going across the field with the one hand out, or with Brian Thomas sitting down, or Parker Washington sitting down and Trevor Lawrence expecting them to keep going, or vice versa, almost all of those exclusively are happening in zone. Because these are guys who have different understandings of where the route should be set down or where the ball should be thrown, maybe a little bit ahead of him versus hitting him on the body. Like, man is easier to figure out. This dude's on him, throw it away from the other guy on defense. But if it's zone and I'm in between 2 guys, then Trevor's having to figure out, am I on the same page with my receiver? I hope we're thinking the same thing. That's come from those mental repetitions. And that's a little bit different. So again, I don't blame that on Trevor Lawrence specifically. That is truly just the receivers being on a different page than the quarterback. And we've seen that in so many games this season. So I think that's a struggle from all of them in getting that passing operation correct.
Right back to that number 2 point you made. Number 3 point, and I think this is relevant to a few of the comments we have. Will the real CB1 please stand up? By the way, it's not Tyson Campbell. We know that much. And just I throw this in there too because we touched on both. Well, all three: the injury report, the chemistry, and the corner. Also, what do you think of the likelihood of, that Travis Hunter plays? That would be a big loss. I don't mean to be this guy, but we're going to start to have a Hotels.com ad pretty soon based on that comment because Captain Obvious was just there in the shouts. Or in the comments. Shouts to you, Robbie Santos. I'm not making fun of you, but to say he's a big loss is absolutely correct. That's rough, man. But Travis Hunter,
well, I mean, he practiced. He still was limited. He was limited with the knee injury, right?
That's why I'm worried.
Right, and it's middle of the week, but a knee. If you limited on Friday, you're feeling fine. If he's out on Friday, that's another conversation for the obvious reasons. But nevertheless, I have to believe he's going to play until you know otherwise, because I mean he hasn't sat out yet.
Well, and option 3, can we acknowledge that Travis Hunter got that dog, as the children say, right? I mean, that should be acknowledged.
Now, so in speaking of Travis Hunter, and just that mean while it could have an impact on how he's used, that might be something I can absolutely see, because Liam Coleman on Monday, I believe, stated that the team was going to be evaluating which 2 cornerbacks was going to be in the game in base downs. And the team that had already previously it always had been Jordan Lewis and Tyson Campbell outside. Then it was Lewis and Buster Brown after the Campbell trade, and then Lewis was sliding on nickel packages. But then Cohen also stated, the Greg Newsome would have a bigger role moving forward, but that kind of makes sense because Newsome only played like 9 snaps in his first game, and he played 25 snaps in the second game in week 7 before the bye. So he was already kind of on that uptick. They were already ramping it up. So that's just like what they were going to do. Yeah, after a trade, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. But Monteric Brown played 46 snaps and 70 snaps in those games. And Lewis played basically 100% of the snaps against the Rams with Monteric Brown. So if Lewis kicks inside on nickel and dime, and Hunter played primarily on dime looks against the Rams game in week 7. So you got 4 possibilities. You got Jordan Lewis, Monteric Brown, Travis Hunter, and Greg Newsome as your outside options, right? Those are your base down guys. You can't take Brown off the field based on how he plays, in my personal opinion. I kind of said this on the socials on Tuesday. I'm like, dude, I don't know how you take that dude off the field. He's been playing so dang well. But
and with as well as he's been playing, do you even consider sliding him at the nickel because he's got the hot hand? That's a tough ask, I think.
But he don't have the flexibility and the blitzing ability to play nickel, from my perspective, anyways. So it becomes he's like primarily an outside guy, but he's a dang good outside guy. Like it's like asking Richard Sherman to play in the slot. Like he's not that guy, but he's really dang good at what he does. So
we talked about how physical he is. That's the only reason I brought it up.
That's it. But yeah, to that point. But again, Jordan Lewis just has a different skill set. So which is why anytime you're a nickel or dime, you want him to be in that slot. Like I get why that's happening in that way. But again, you want Travis Hunter to play, but you got another guy who's really good outside. And you got Greg Newsome who's in a contract year, and you really just kind of want to figure out what you have there. So like you're stuck with Lewis, who's your best corner on the roster before that Rams matchup anyways. Like you have to say objectively. Yeah. He gave up 2 touchdowns and 3 penalties, dude. Like it was a rough day.
It's the penalty. And this is gonna sound dumb. Like size wise, I feel like that's a tough ask for Devontae to do to be on Devontae Adams like that in the red zone. Yeah. But also you got to do your damn job. I get it. It's the penalties.
He also gave up a catch against the rookie. Also, I forget the Rams receiver name.
But I know what you're talking about.
At the back of the end zone. So it's not just Devontae. Otherwise, you'd understand.
I like that play more than Devontae too. You're making my point exactly. It's the other stuff, not Devontae. I know we talk about the touchdowns he gave up. I'll even let the Adams one slide. But when you committing penalties like that, and then you mentioned the rookie beating him, that's problematic. I'll agree with that.
No, but for the sake of the corners, I hope this game plan, like for the sake of the corners and the DB coach, the defensive coordinator Anthony Campanelli, I do hope that this game plan is not just going to be a copy and paste of what it was in week 7. Because obviously you don't want to just see Travis Hunter only playing in dime, because then he might not play, just like he didn't play in the first half of the last game because they played so much 13 personnel. with the 3 tight ends that Travis Hunter would end up not playing any snaps until the second half.
Correct.
You don't want that to happen.
Well, we talked about how we thought that was a mistake on Friday.
Yeah, so you don't want to see that, but that's what the game plan was. And I'm really hoping that they have a different philosophy, whatever that ends up being. I just hope it looks different than Buster Brown and Lewis and Newsome on nickel downs with Hunter and dime only, because otherwise you may get the same results. And I think this should be a point where you're seeing Travis Hunter ramp up, injuries withstand.
Barring injury, correct. I mean, depending on what we see in the rest of the week and all that, I mean, that could be a factor for the coming game against the Raiders for sure. I get you 100%. Of course, the next answer being pass rush, show up. Guys, listen, I know I gave them a bit of a break against the Seahawks, but being completely non-existent as well against the Rams for a second straight week, that I could not forgive. Yeah, that this group has been, I don't want to say terrible, but certainly underwhelming. And it was nice when the team was getting turnovers. You can make the argument that the pressures were enough because the DBs and Devin Lloyd, who was also on the injury report so far, were getting picks. It's not happening anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this up here too now, because I think this leads into your point better than anything else I could say.
Well, that's two different conversations. Save that one for later. For the battle, so we can get into the battle of the edges. I think that's two. Yeah, I want to talk about them separately if you don't mind, like, because we're talking about the pass rush showing up, because Cohen already talked about it. Like he on Monday, he talked about basically every deficiency that this team has right now. And one of those things that came up, he discussed the defensive tackles, quote unquote, have to get going. And I'm just like, all right, cool. The defensive tackles got to get going, and he and the staff did a think tank to find solutions there during the bye week. In my opinion, I'm hoping those solutions involve BJ Green and Danny Stricko.
Or trade, right?
I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just talking about, hey man, some of the tape is pretty rough right now. Like, you got Mason Smith, who's been somewhat effective in the pass rush area, and I will be very clear in saying that, but he's been struggling against the run in 2025, and he kind of did in 2024, and I said so, and people kind of gave me flack for it, but I'm sorry. It is what it is. That's what's happening. Meanwhile, Devon Hamilton has also been exactly the opposite. Like, he's struggling in the pass rush area, as that's normally not his forte, and he's dominant in the run stopping area. So it kind of results in the teams they kind of struggle in those obvious rundowns. They're finding the obvious rundowns with Devon Hamilton on the field, but then if anybody's passing in that situation, he's not giving you much of anything. And other teams, they run the ball against the Jaguars in obvious passing situations. That's what happened with the Rams on 2nd and 3rd and long. They end up running the ball for a first down. You got Mason Smith in the game because he's probably not going to hold up to any dominant tackle or a double team or something along those lines. So now you're kind of stuck in how you're going to play that mental chess with these defensive coordinators. Like, I posted on the socials earlier, in base defense, the Jaguars are allowing they're 9th in the league in rush yards per play allowed. But in nickel and dime, they're 26th in rush yards per play allowed, because again, it's the personnel part. When teams see that lighter personnel on the field, they're going to run the ball. When they see Mason Smith instead of Devon Hamilton, they're going to run the ball. And when they see the opposite, they're going to do the exact opposite. So the Jaguars are 20th in pass plays allowed in base defense, but they're 16th in pass plays allowed in nickel and dime. So basically, they're just playing that chess. When you think I should be running the ball, I'm passing. When you think I should be passing, I'm running it. And there's the problem as it currently stands with these guys. Like, Mason Smith is damn dominant in rushing the passer. He's 10th in ESPN's pass rush win rate. He's 125th in run stop win percentage. That's it. It's your he's the Scherf, Brandon Scherf. He's that of the defensive line, where he was so dominant in one area, but then just as bad in the other area, where it makes it very difficult as far as your defensive coordinator and how you're going to play this thing, because you have that limitation. It's always going to be there.
That's a good take. I think where most Jaguar fans will recognize this sort of thing a little bit better, regarding, shall we say, predictability being a key term, right? Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne, and whoever the third back at the time was, such that it would be, oh my gosh, The Browns.
Dearness Johnson.
Dearness Johnson, thank you. Whoever was on the field, you knew what the Jags were going to be trying to do, running the football. Now they have that problem based on your analogy at defensive tackle. And the quarterbacks they played the past 2 weeks, love them or hate them, are smart enough to audible out of stuff based on what they see in front of them. That's an excellent point.
That's really it. Like, again, you know what you're going to get from Mason Smith, and you know what you're going to get from Devon Hamilton. Like, again, I said, Mason is 125th in his run stop win percentage, and he's 10th in pass rush win rate. Well, Devon Hamilton is 104th in pass rush win rate, and he's damn dominant in stopping the run. Like, they are the exact opposite. So if you're in the first down scenario with Devon Hamilton on the field, what am I doing? I'm doing play action, max protection, and I'm throwing the ball, and I'm doubling and tripling Josh Hines-Allen, and who else is going to get home? Like, that's pretty much the game plan right now. Or if I'm in second and long and third and long and Mason Smith's on the field, I'm running the ball. I'm taking that chance, and normally the stats all tell you don't run the ball in second and long and third and long because you're generally not going to get it. But against this defense, if he's struggling to do that, I'm going to do that more times than not and make him stop, make him show up. That's just smart football right there.
Robbie Santos asked the question in the comments, although most likely won't be resolved this week, who do we realistically bring in to resolve our interior defensive line / pass rush? Tapa, very interestingly, comes in off the top rope with Quinnen Williams, fixes everything. I'm not going to go that bold, but I would like to. That would be a fascinating thing that they did. Travis is not buying. I think you think it's unbelievable to occur. I'm with you on that.
I mean, I mentioned him in the trade episode, the Travis Etienne mailbag trade episode on Wednesday. So I don't mind. I got love. That's a dream scenario, of course. But there are a lot of defensive tackle, talents throughout the league. The problem is most of the ones that you're going to really want that may remotely be available are going to cost.
Be an upgrade. Exactly.
Yes, they are going to cost. Like, let's be clear. Like Jeffrey Simmons, that's a pipe dream.
Okay, come on, Stay. What are we doing?
That is a pipe dream. Quinnen Williams at least feels reasonable because there's been the option that that there's been the rumors via the agents and the media and everything else that he at least might be available for a second and or third. And if they put out in the reports that they want a second for him, they're probably going to be willing to take a third or 2/3 or something like that. Like if you give him a third in one season and a third and two seasons in a row, something like that, you could probably make that happen. Like, let's be real.
Travis, that's ridiculous. You would need a GM that would actually openly say F them picks and just wait. Anyways.
That's fair. That is fair.
Sorry, I had to get that in there, dude. I completely threw everything off. Where the heck were we?
So Devin Folston says Eric Armstead has been MIA after the 49ers game, and is that true? I'm not even sure I have a take on that. I just don't know how to feel about it.
He's done less. He's got fewer stats for certain. I don't know that he stopped being any bit effective at all. I think I'll put it this way. For a D tackle to be effective when the quarterback was getting the ball out as quick as you cited Sam Darnold doing, and then when the Rams were doing what they did, I feel like they're a better offensive line than the Seahawks today. I could be wrong about that. I definitely haven't seen enough film to confirm nor deny. But who knows? Maybe his age is catching up to him a little bit this season. I don't know what that looks like. Colin Saunders hasn't really been a factor. Obviously, we don't need to bring that up too much, but I don't know. That's tough, man. I will say this, and there's when teams are fire selling, there's a chance to get a defensive tackle in that scenario. But saying stop it. The Titans aren't doing it. Okay, stop it. If that happens,
they're not going to send that man into a team they play twice a year. They're going.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
That'd be wild.
That'd be so bad for Tennessee fans. I'll say that for certain, man.
Yeah, man. But no, and I talked about the fact that they got to rattle Geno. Like that was my last key to victory. Even though I technically have the bonus one because I still want to talk about Josh Hines-Allen. I think that deserves its own separate conversation.
Look at that.
But. Yeah, you got to rattle Geno Smith because he's leading the league in interceptions with 10, right? Like he had a 4.5 turnover worthy play rate with Pro Football Focus, which is his highest rate since since his rookie season with the Jets. Like, he's regressed in that way. And if you look at his film, you look at his numbers, you got to believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars defense this week are going to have opportunities to get their hands on the ball, especially with Devin Lloyd back, on that defense, being the leader in getting his hands on the ball in that. I can't even say secondary because he's a linebacker, but you know what I mean. Like, he's been that good at getting his hands on balls and bringing it in. But above that, the Raiders, they're 30th in yards, they're 31st in points per game, and they've had a lot of significant O-line struggles after those offseason position switches. They moved Jordan Meredith from left guard to center, Dylan Parham from right to left guard, and for all of you in that draft community, the Jaguars draft darling Jackson Powers Johnson. They moved him from center to right guard this offseason. So, and they lost
that's
their
emotion for those who are wondering. Anyway,
and they lost their left tackle who's been on IR since week 4.
yeah.
So, like, that's instability across the entire offensive line this season. Who also has a quarterback who's struggling in Chip Kelly's system. That's the recipe for disaster for the Raiders and a recipe for success for the Jaguars front four. If you're going to have a wake up game, and I'm not saying that they are, but if you are, Eric Armstead, Mason Smith, Devon Hamilton, like, that would have to be the week, right? Like, if you don't wake up against this team, then you are in insomnia. That's for the full season. Like, it's just not happening at that point.
No, I agree. And I'm there was a comment that cited this earlier. I didn't put it up at the time, but you've said this as well. Robert jumps in. This game's going to determine if the Jags are selling or buying players. Now, I think that Travis said that. I think it's a smidge extreme, but I won't rule it out. But what do I know? Listen, I'm not the card carrying member here on the panel.
So Geno is 7th in the league in sacks surrendered. He's 12th in pressure rate, but he's only 19th in blitz rate. So teams don't normally feel like they need to send extra bodies against them with that struggling offensive line that I already talked about. So most teams are playing coverage. Right. They're just sitting back and just saying, all right, cool. You got to, average time to throw of 2.9 seconds. We'll just play coverage and we'll let our guys get home. So it's really a game of weakness versus weakness, honestly, from my perspective. The Jaguars' average time to pressure, again, that's 2.5 seconds, which is 3rd in the league. And Geno's average time to throw is like 2.9 seconds. So overall, just on averages, you're gonna have your opportunities, but the Jaguars' numbers are also kind of propped up by their pressure success rate when blitzing. And that was something I kind of wanted to talk about separately, because the Jaguars defense, and I put this out on the socials, when they blitz, they're 25th in the league as far as their sack rate is concerned, which is fine. And I say that's fine with the caveat because they're first in time to throw. Basically, guys are, when they show 5, 6, 7 rushers, they're getting the ball out immediately. And the Jaguars defense is then they're coming up and collapsing on the ball carrier, tackling them short of the sticks, getting off the field. That's why they're so good on 3rd down. I'm here for it all day. But without blitzing, the Jaguars they have the 31st sack rate. They have the 28th quarterback pressure rate and the 19th time to throw. That without blitzing data, that's struggling numbers right there. And that's the biggest problem I'll see, because that points you back to that Josh Hines-Allen conversation I said I wanted to have later. And I'm not saying it's only him, because again, it's him and it's the guys that's surrounding him. I've had a lot of arguments on the Jaguar socials this week, or this bye week, and I knew it was going to be a long bye week just because they lost how they lost and all the deficiencies that exist. But sure. Again, next gen stats. Shout out to those guys. Says Josh Hines-Allen leads the Jaguars with 27 pressures, almost double the next highest total on the team, which is Travon Walker with 14. He also leads the team with 13 quick pressures under 2.5 seconds, which already matches his quick total pressure from last season alone, and is tied for 9th most in the league. Now I'm hearing a lot of folks they're clamoring about Josh Hines-Allen, and he's disappeared and he's not as good as his 2023 season, and all the other wild takes that I've been hearing in these streets, man. But I honestly think this is Josh Hines-Allen. I think this is a very similar season to his 2023 season, and folks are just box score watching those 17.5 sacks because they forgot how those 17.5 sacks happened.
They stacked up against some teams. Like I know he had 3 or 4 against Carolina, for example.
So in one of my group chats, I got into a conversation with one of my guys, Brian, and he was ball nor. I want to be clear.
No disrespect.
I no disrespect at all. Like he's a true ball knower. He knows film. He played college football. All of the things. Like I believe him in watching film. And I'm still like, he's like, you think he's the same guy? And I'm like, no, I think he's the same guy. I think y'all just getting so ramped up about the fact that he hasn't got these sacks, and you're not looking at what's happening around him. Even in that 2023 season, he had like it was like 6 out of the first 7 sacks that he had. The quarterback held the ball for more than 3 seconds, and it was bad quarterback play. In addition to him being dominant, like it was both things. They weren't like the quickest of sacks. They were just like guys holding the ball when the ball should have been gone, playing against AR-15 and or a backup quarterback here and there. And from that perspective, I'm like, he's just as dominant.
I mentioned a young Bryce Young in there as well, right? With the Panthers, yeah.
Yeah, and so he still doesn't have a significant amount of help because at the end of the day, we're seeing this guy playing without Travon Walker over the last basically 3 games. I mean, Travon Walker has been playing. He played 18 snaps and 16 snaps in the last 2 weeks, and then obviously missed the KC game. But Travon Walker is also limited. Folks ain't talking about that. But if you look at his tape, he'll have one like really good rep where he's like just powers a guy, but he has one hand, and he's mostly a power rusher. And what do you do if you have one hand when you can't even grab one side of the guy to kind of maneuver them out of the way, move them out of the way, rip, disengage, all of that stuff? What you're stuck a little bit. So like, I'm not saying he's not being effective, but he's not even close to how effective he would normally be. Because that's your other guy.
When he was fully effective across from that same Josh Hines-Allen, he had his first double-digit sack year as well, mentioning 2023.
Yeah. And
I wrote the article on SI, shouts to John Shipley, when he broke the that record that you're talking about with the 17 and a half. And I think it was in 4 games, he got like 70-something% of the 17 sacks.
It was on certain quarterbacks.
Correct. That's the point I'm making. You got it.
But I've always been the person that says sacks are a quarterback stat, and folks can stand me when I say that. And it is what it is. I down that hill.
The first time you said it, and I heard it, I'm like, really? And then the more I think, the more I agree with you.
So no, man, I'm all about the pressures matter. And yes, if you get home, it's great, but it's about the surroundings around you. Like he still doesn't have the support that he needs as far as the defensive tackles are concerned. And again, he's doing this with one of his better people that he plays off of, Travon Walker, having a hand behind their back, essentially, and playing limited snaps. So they're not even getting most of those first down snaps, those non-obvious passing snaps, because Travon's not even on the field. So a lot of the ways Josh Hines-Allen's just being limited by the things that's happening around him, and then folks are just keying on him on the downs when it's an obvious passing down. But I said this is going to be a battle of the edges because I think it will be. We've seen like how the Jaguars play against elite level, edge talent in 2025, like whether it's Trey Hendrickson, Jared Verse, etc. All the guys from Seattle basically had a freaking sack party, like just all of them. And now you got Maxx Crosby with less talent surrounding him than those other teams I just named. But
less than Trey Hendrickson? Are you sure? It's a toss-up. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe. All right, maybe we're close. But my point is, can the Jaguars stop Crosby from making those game-changing, game-flipping plays? If they can, then we're talking about a game the Jacksonville Jaguars should obviously win. But Maxx Crosby ain't no slouch, brother. Like, I mean, you're talking a guy who's top 3 in the league as far as tackles for a loss in the season. You don't even have a Jaguar on that list, like of top 10 guys. You got a guy who's 28 tackles, 10 tackles for a loss, 9 quarterback hits, 5 passes defense, 4 sacks, an INT, and a fumble forced already. That's Maxx Crosby. So, yeah, the Jaguars offensive line, you will absolutely have your hands full. Good luck to you, brother. I hope you are healthy after this bye week because you're going to need it. And you should be able to hopefully limit him from dominating and taking over this game. But that's going to be the challenge.
Yeah, and I hope that Trevor Lawrence has also learned his level to know where he is at all times because he didn't have it in his head with Trey Hendrickson. And we remember what happened with that interception in the bleeding end zone. So
yeah,
with that in mind, I mean, Maxx Crosby, we're talking about him on the other side. I really think there's a defensive player for the Jags that we haven't even brought up yet. And maybe, listen, maybe the guy that I'm concerned about on the Raiders side is on injury or something like that. I know he's a younger player, specifically a rookie, but like Alshon Jeffrey is the guy I'm worried about. And then meanwhile, Brock Bowers is supposed to come back this week. Foya Luwakin and how he does in that linebacker core this week is going to be my X factor. Because if they're still down Devin Lloyd, and oh, by the way, Dennis Gardeck is on the injury report too. Now, granted, you know, I'm not saying he's going to miss, but the linebacker core is going to be in real trouble, and Foye needs that group to lead that group to perform well to handle the Raiders. Because let's be honest, if Geno is going to escape that pressure, he's going to do it in a check down, and it's going to be Bowers or Jeffrey.
Just funny because Brock Bowers is absolutely a great X factor, but as it is Alshon Jeanty, Bowers
Jeffrey, Jeanty.
Bowers is one of my X factors. Well, not I can't even say X factors because we're not doing X factors. We're doing matchups, and it's truly going to come down to the Jacksonville Jaguars safety core versus Bowers. Like, I know you might say linebackers, but in my head, if they end up running a lot more of that cover 6 or those too high cover four looks, you're going to end up seeing one of those things that the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary has struggled in stopping. And what's that? A lot of play action, and these tight ends going deep and running corner routes and vertical routes. And what does that mean? You just said it. Dewey and Antonio Johnson and versus Bowers. And you really hope that he doesn't take over that game because the Jaguars have struggled against that and for 2 weeks, whether it was versus the Rams or whether it's versus the Seahawks. Eventually, you got to get. I hope you have an answer for that after a full week to kind of chew on it, because otherwise it's going to be a long day. So that's kind of my matchup: is are they going to fix those schematic difficulties? I'm not going to say they're like issues, but they are absolutely making it difficult for a guy to cover the tight end in those ways. Whenever they have the run fit from that cover 4 look, like, or do you have the appropriate checks, or do you have the appropriate teach sessions as far as their eyes are concerned to make sure they're not busting these coverage when it matters most?
I got to bring this in because this is like the 3rd or 4th comment I've heard bringing this up. These Duval divers want Raywan Lane in the game so bad, my guy.
I don't blame him, but I don't know if he's ready or not. I can't speak to that. Like, I mean, Ray Lane has been balling out of his mind on special teams, and if they think he's ready, God bless you. Go ahead. Like, let the rookies play. But maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Like, because again, this is the part about playing DB that really sucks. And I do feel bad for Dewey in some ways, because let's be real, Dewey probably blown coverages like 2 times in each of these games. It's 2 times, but it's each of these games. Like, yeah, the interference penalties, so I'm still counting that, and then the actual blown coverage in the last game, and then before that it was the 2 plays against the Seahawks, and I'm like, all right, cool, but that's 2 plays out of like 80 plays in the game, and that's what's getting you like burnt. That's what's getting you slammed in the socials and the media and everything else, because that's the job, unfortunately. I would hope that Ray Lane could be better, but at the same time, man, I do feel bad for that. But I feel bad for DBs because it's like, hey, man, I was 78 of 80 and they hate me.
It's no different for O linemen. And in the words of Mark Schlereth, right? If you get a sack and you're a defensive player who's probably more athletic than any offensive lineman in the league, you're a hero. If you're an offensive lineman and you give up 1 sack, you're bagging groceries next week, period.
Now folks are talking though. Now they're starting to talk my language. We're talking about DBs. So Robert says that Ray Lane made plays at Navy.
We were saying that in the offseason, Robert. Come on.
But Dewey, but this is the one. Robert says Dewey is an old school box safety, and that's why I agree. I actually do agree. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars have 2 really good box safeties in Eric Murray and Dewey Wingard. And unfortunately, you need a free safety, and Ransall's injury, which is what Tapa just pops out. Man, you guys ball knows you're on it. He says Dewey only got the starting safety job because Ransall's out for the season. After the season, we don't have to worry about Dewey anymore. And I'm not saying it in those words because I don't know if that's necessarily true in that way. And we still
He's still going to be on the roster. He just may not be starting.
Yeah, we still haven't seen Ransall play a game of NFL football, so I'm not going to go wild and say that just yet. Like he may not need some time to develop or anything like that. But I am saying that I did believe always from the start that Dewey was a box safety and that Eric Murray was also a really good box safety. And they're just asking him to be a guy over the top, which is not his skill set. It's not his athletic profile. I do understand it. So it's going to be interesting and seeing how they play that. Maybe you see a Dewey bounce back game for him because he may end up filling that role of the Eric Murray and playing more box safety this week close to the line of scrimmage. And then all of a sudden you guys would be like, oh, Dewey with the sack. Oh, Dewey with the play on the ball. Oh, Dewey, because he's playing a role that's more akin to what his skill set and athletic profile actually like shows us. Maybe that might be it. And then y'all be raving for Dewey all of a sudden. We'll see.
Let's land this thing with prediction time, buddy. What do you got on the tail of the tape there as we get rolling here to get to that place, so to speak?
Yes, sir. Well, what we have is the Jaguars are 27th in the league with 20.9 points per game against the Raiders, who are 32nd in the league. Jesus, behind the Tennessee Titans. Yes. All right, cool. At 14.7 points per game. The Jaguars are 20th with in passing yards per game, 231. With the Raiders, again, 32nd in the league at 203 yards per game passing. That the Raiders are 31st in the league in rushing yards per game, 93 yards a game, while the Jaguars are 17th at 119. So the Jaguars have dropped a few spots since earlier in the season when they were dominating on the ground. So maybe we'll get that back. Even though that wasn't one of my keys to the game, that obviously will be a good week for that.
Of course.
And the Jaguars are are 32nd in the league with 8 sacks, while the Raiders are
just glance over that. You speaking of things you had on the keys to the game, right? Okay, let's get back on track.
But we talked about that in pretty good detail as far as the fact that when the Jaguars blitz so much and then the other teams are first in the league and in time to throw, they just throw the ball immediately, and then that's the part that's built within the defense. So they want guys to throw the ball away quickly, and then you just kind of like converge on the ball carrier and tackle them. And that's why the Jaguars are so good at third downs, because they are able to get the ball out of these quarterbacks' hands and tackle guys short. I don't mind if your sack numbers are low if you're manufacturing the ball getting out of these guys' hands purposefully just to get them off the field. Like that's almost as effective as a sack, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, because you're getting them off the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Whole point is to get them off the field. That's it, at the end of the day. Like, so I'm okay with the sack numbers being low with the blitz caveat. But without the blitz is where things starts getting a little muddy, starts getting a little murky. And that's where I don't want to glance over it, but I also don't want to hammer it either. I have to separate this stuff out to really talk about what I'm looking at. And in interceptions, the Jaguars are third in the league with 10, whereas the Raiders are 26 with 3. So that's what we have for these guys, and I don't really know. This is gonna be interesting. So my NFL.com. Oh man, I don't even have them pulled up. I'm gonna delay you guys for a quick second because the NFL.com had the Jaguars as favorites, and I didn't know what to do with that. I just did not know what to do with that information, just because I'm like, normally when the Jaguars are favorites in a situation, it's not great. And I think you guys all know exactly what I'm talking about. Like the Jaguars, normally if they're favorites, then it's like that lemon booty start creeping up for the Duval devout, because it's like they don't do well in prime time. They don't do well when favored. Every NFL media analyst, other than Colin Wolf, basically says the Jaguars are going to win this game with an average score of around anywhere from 28 point score for the Jaguars to a high, let's say, of maybe 24 points scored for the Raiders. So I'm talking 9 out of 10 of these guys say this is the Jaguars' game to win, and if they don't win, it's because they fumbled the bag. That makes me feel a little worrisome already. Just like, is it a trap game? No, but I already said earlier that I thought this was a weakness versus weakness game where both defenses feel like, as far as the pass rush is concerned, that it's a lot of guys, and it's a lot of guys and Maxx Crosby. Like it's Maxx Crosby and company, or it's Josh Hines-Allen and company, if that makes sense. And that's where your pass rush is going to come for both of these teams. Meanwhile, you got two offenses that are looking for answers in a lot of areas. And I do mean like truly a lot of areas. Both teams trying to get their run game like ramped back up. Both teams with quarterback situations that are really all over the place and just trying to figure out what they really are.
Doing the quick math in my head, one of the lower scoring predictions is the Raider win. And I think that's the key for the Raiders is if they can actually get Genty going. I don't know that that's going to happen, but considering with what we talked about with how predictable things are, Geno is enough of a wily vet to audible out of things or into runs with Genty. Outside running will be interesting with the linebacker core in the state that they're in. It's fascinating to me on that particular front. Hines-Allen on the other side, I think is going to be a big deal with being a lead blocker, but I don't know that Zach Crockett is not walking through the door for the Raiders is what I'm saying. So there's a throwback for you. But yeah, okay. I think as much as we said the Jags need to make a game ugly, I think that's what the Raiders need to do here in particular. I'll get it out of the way. There's a lot of point totals in the 50s this week. Off the top, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 5? 4. No, it's 4. I like the 50 area, which means I think the Raiders are going to lose. Something I haven't done lately is pick the Jaguars, but I'm going to do that this week. So I'm going to say, I like a low 50s. I'm out of the business of thinking Cam Little will make a kick, so I'm going to go 20. I'm so bad. 28.
You're honest.
To let's say 13 Jags.
Interesting. 28-13.
Oh no. Wait, that's too low. I want it in the 50s. So it's going to be 28-23 Jags is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I did my math wrong. But yeah, 28-23.
So this is interesting because I told you off air, and I'm telling everyone on air now, just honestly, I am out of the business of giving grace or out of the business of assuming things will now magically become good because I do believe in the coaching staff. And I want to be very clear in saying this. I do believe in the coaching staff. I don't know that I believe in the roster. Ooh. And I don't know how much I believe in the in-season development that I'm planning on seeing in the second half of this season, because I do plan on seeing in-season development. Like I've often on air compared this team to the 2022 Jaguars and to the 2023 Green Bay Packers. As far as in the second half of the season, you see that development literally take place in front of your eyes on the field. Cool. I'm going to say all those disclaimers and get it out there now to then say, I no longer just automatically believe that things that were bad before the bye are not going to be good after the bye. And because of that, I still have so many questions about this Jacksonville Jaguars team, despite the fact that they're playing a bad Raiders team. I don't know if they're going to win this game. And I don't know how to feel about that. And if I'm being real about it, I do think it's going to be a very close game. And I don't even know what side of the line I really land on. Just being real with you.
Hi, Travis. Come on, man.
Just being real with you. Okay. But again, because I told you I'm not going to be the guy who's just going to automatically assume because if it's great because it's teal, then I'm probably going to say the Jaguars lose 17-16. I don't love it. I don't feel good about it.
Here's what I think is actually being real. Happening. Okay, Tyler Dragon on the episode where we did the crossover with Believe in Rams called out that you pick the Jags every time and now you're self-conscious. I think that's why you're actually doing this.
They got destroyed against the Seattle Seahawks and then destroyed against the Rams. That's not me being in my head, bro. That's me. So. And I even had to call this conversation with Jamal St. Cyr of News for Jags. It was like when I told him then, I'm like, hey, man, they're going to have to earn that ability for me to just automatically say coaching is good. That means the outcome is going to be good because even the coaches are still learning some of these things and making some of those early mistakes.
That's a fair point. I think in Vegas, coaching's bad. I think Pete Carroll is overrated. I think he's I think he's shown people. Yeah, thank you. I think he's shown people once again that he is not make protecting a quarterback the foremost of his priorities as he did with Russell Carrington Wilson. I think
Chip
Geno
Kelly's offense is rough. Yeah,
and then there's Chip Kelly's offense. You make a great point there too. I don't think Geno is the answer for this team. I think it's completely unfair that he was asked to do this for the Raiders, but hey, he's getting paid for it. I don't cry for him that much. And yeah, Alshon Jeffrey and Brock Bowers are going to be the main thing that have to be worried about by the Jags. In a low-scoring game, as you described, which it sounds like you agree with me that they want to make it dirty, Bowers and Jeffrey being a factor, like in the scenario you speak of, each of them have a touchdown in my head.
Yeah, but again, I'm not the guy who's generally going to say that Jaguars lose against a team that they absolutely should win against, and they should win against this team.
Yeah,
and that's where my line in the sand stands. The Jaguars should beat this team, and they shouldn't just win by a little bit. They should boat race this team.
But you're saying,
but do I believe that they will? This is a show me game for me personally, and I think this is a line in the sand moment. This is just, but I don't love making this prediction. I don't love it. I don't like it at all. But I'm being honest about what it is. Like, that's just where I land. So that's my prediction. And if I'm wrong, I'll be happy and wrong.
So if you're wrong next week when you put up the I am sad in the post game for the Duval Dive Live, I might lead the show with an exaggeration alert. How about that?
That's it. And Robert Lamson again says the players they're playing hard for Liam, and I believe that's also true. KV Hawk says the Jaguars win 28-14. Hunter with 120 yards receiving. Ooh.
I think that's a realistic scenario. 100%. A score is a little low for me. I think in a scenario like that where Hunter does that the Jags break 30 to get my 50-point game in there. So I think they at least get to the 33-36 mark at that point. That would also involve a making of a couple kicks from Cam Little. Speaking of show me games, I want my props for at least taking it there. I'm just saying.
Well, he added but he also added the 2 and anytime TD for all you betting degenerates. I love it.
Hey, that's not degeneration. That's advice, baby. Anyways, I think
thank you, Robert. You understand. I get it, Travis. They got to show you, and that's kind of where I am. I put myself out there on public local television, telling folks that the Jaguars are going to beat the Seattle Seahawks by double-digit points, and woo, boy, did they not show up. And that was a game that I thought they should have won by double digits, honestly. I still stand on it. Like, schematically, they should have won that game.
Bo was here for it, and yeah, I get it, man. But with that in mind, Travis D. Holmes, tell the world.
Well, yeah, you can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writing covering the Jaguars, BigCatCountry.com. And yeah, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, please take a quick beat just to click that like button, click subscribe, drop a comment in the comments and help us with this algorithm, man. We appreciate you guys. You destroyed this past week's on a mailbag and giving us all that content, which 100%. Then allowed us to give you all that content, talking about the things that you want to talk about. Again, we love you guys and we do appreciate it. And yeah, just let them know where you can be found, sir.
Hey, yeah, shouts to the Duval Divers for not letting us hide on bye week. That was great. We appreciate all the questions for sure. That was a fantastic time. We both enjoyed it thoroughly. We'll leave it at that. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with the Black and Gold Banneret and the Night Shift podcast covering UCF football and basketball upcoming here shortly, of course, with the Black and Gold Banneret, like I said. And then check out my work covering the Los Angeles Chargers with the Bolt Blitz Uncut, as well as my coverage of the Orlando Magic as well. Fun to have a live show with you folks again. We're done with the bye week. We're on to Las Vegas. See, I said San Diego, but I got Las Vegas right. There you go. So for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, for all you Duval divers, again, making a great comment show for all of the above, even though we're on a different day this week. I think we're back to normal next week, so I think you'll be all right with that Wednesday at 7:30. Yeah, until next time, everyone, class dismissed.